The silence before the storm stretched across the skies as massive ships descended into Earth's atmosphere. The first sign of the alien invasion was a series of bright lights, cutting through the clouds, a momentary flash of brilliance that sparked fear around the world. The people who witnessed it from their windows thought it was a dream or some sort of natural phenomenon, but the rumble that followed shook entire cities awake. The aliens didn't waste time with words or formalities. They came straight for the heart of the planet. With overwhelming force, their ships were colossal, the size of mountains, and their technology was beyond human comprehension. From the moment they arrived, they declared Earth their territory. A simple message broadcast across every communication channel. A cold, metallic voice reverberated through the air, demanding immediate surrender. The invaders spoke in a language none could understand, but the tone was clear. We were conquered and resistance was futile. Governments across the world scrambled to respond. Panic spread like wildfire. People took to the streets in terror. There was no plan, no clear course of action, only the terror of what was to come. The military leaders who had been prepared for the usual threats were thrown into confusion and chaos. How could they fight against something so advanced, so otherworldly? The alien ships hovered silently above major cities, their weapons poised to strike. If humans dared to resist within hours, cities like New York, London, and Tokyo were in a state of chaos, their towering structures now symbols of helplessness under the looming shadow of the invaders. But among the panic and confusion, there were whispers of something else, something not everyone could see, not everyone understood. In the heart of a small and unassuming tech lab in San Francisco, Alex sat at his desk, staring at the holographic screen in front of him. He was an engineer, not a soldier or a leader of any kind, but something about the alien message felt wrong. There was a part of him that refused to believe that humanity was truly helpless, that they could just roll over and accept defeat. Alex was not a man of violence or war. He had always been the quiet thinker, the one who preferred to solve problems with logic and invention. But as the reality of the situation settled into his bones, he realized one thing: this was not just about technology or weapons, it was about survival. He turned to the team of engineers around him. They weren't soldiers either, but they were some of the brightest minds on the planet. They had been working on projects for years. Most of them had never been part of anything so immediate or urgent, but something about the way Alex spoke to them, his voice calm yet determined, struck a chord with each of them. "We can't just let them take over," he said, his voice steady. "There's always a way to fight back. We have the ingenuity, we have the tools, we just need to come together and make it happen." The team exchanged uncertain glances, but the words had already sunk in. Something shifted in the room, and a spark of resolve ignited. The world might be falling apart, but there was still hope, there was still time, and someone had to step forward to find a way to make a stand. As Alex's team started to work, the world outside was still gripped by fear, but it was in these quiet moments of resolve that the first seeds of resistance were planted. Humanity might have been in shock, but it wasn't going down without a fight. The first blows struck hard and fast. The alien ships fired on major cities across the globe, and within moments entire districts were reduced to rubble. The sky itself seemed to crack open as the invaders unleashed their terrifying weapons. The impact sent shockwaves that rattled the earth and left countless people in a state of panic. But amidst the chaos, there was something unexpected happening beneath the surface. Humans weren't just running or hiding, they were starting to fight back. The shock of the invasion had created an urgency among people to find a way to resist. They were more resourceful than the invaders had anticipated. Alex and his team knew that time was running out. After seeing the devastation across the globe, it was clear the aliens weren't here for diplomacy. They wanted to crush Earth into submission, and if they weren't stopped, humanity would be wiped out in a matter of days. But what the invaders didn't understand was the power of human ingenuity and resilience. People from all walks of life were coming together to find solutions. They were driven not by advanced technology, but by sheer determination to survive even in the most dire circumstances. People in cities like Berlin, Sydney, and Johannesburg started to sabotage alien equipment and disrupt communication systems. It was small at first, just a few isolated incidents, but it was enough to let the invaders know they weren't dealing with a helpless species. Alex knew that they had to do more. They couldn't just rely on guerrilla tactics and hopes of small victories. They needed something big. They needed a game changer. So they began reaching out to global leaders and military officials. Despite the chaos, the call for unity was undeniable. Governments started to put aside old grudges and come together with one shared purpose: stop the alien threat at all costs. But this wasn't just a political or military fight. It was a fight for the survival of every human being on Earth. In a hidden underground lab in the United States, Alex and his team started working around the clock. They poured through old military research documents that were believed to be obsolete. There were rumors of experimental weapons that had been abandoned long ago, weapons that could match the alien technology, but no one had thought they would ever be necessary, not like this. Yet now every piece of old technology was a potential advantage. The team worked in secret, knowing the invaders would be watching every move, but time was slipping through their fingers. Fast, each day more cities were falling, and it seemed like the alien forces were growing stronger with each passing hour. Alex was exhausted, but there was no time to rest. Every breakthrough brought them one step closer, but it also reminded him of how much there was left to do. Humanity had been caught off guard, but now they were waking up to their true potential, and that spark of hope that had begun to light in the hearts of people everywhere was starting to grow stronger. It was more than just a fight for survival. It was a fight for everything they had built, for their future, their freedom, their right to exist as a species. And Alex was certain that no matter how advanced the invaders were, they had underestimated one thing: the strength of the human spirit. As Alex gathered his team together to discuss their progress, the weight of what they were about to do settled on their shoulders. They weren't just fighting to survive anymore, they were fighting to win. The human resistance had begun to take shape, and though their numbers were small compared to the vast alien army, the ingenuity of Earth's people was quickly turning the tide. Alex watched as his team began to put their plans into motion. Weapons and technology they once thought were out of reach were now being modified for the war effort. Civilian engineers, soldiers, and scientists all worked together like a well-oiled machine. The resistance was no longer a ragtag group of survivors. It was becoming a force to be reckoned with. The aliens had thought their conquest would be swift. They assumed Earth's fractured political landscape and lack of unified defense would make it easy. But what they failed to understand was the resilience of humanity. Every city that fell to their initial strikes only served to unite the people more strongly across the globe. Civilians started to take action, even in places where military forces hadn't yet organized. Small groups of fighters emerged. They sabotaged supply lines, damaged alien vehicles, and in some cases completely derailed the invaders' operations. It was far from enough to stop the invasion, but it was enough to send a message: the invaders were not welcomed here. Alex knew this wasn't enough to end the war, but it was a start. The resistance had to act quickly and decisively, so he turned his focus to something bigger. The alien ships had been largely unaffected by traditional weaponry, but there were rumors of an ancient piece of technology that could turn the tide. It was a long shot, but it was their best chance. With no time to waste, Alex and his team set off on a journey to find it. The artifact was rumored to be buried beneath the ice of Antarctica, a place where no one had ventured for centuries. It wasn't just a relic of the past, it was something more. It held the potential to unlock a power that could match the alien fleet's technology. While Alex's team embarked on their mission to retrieve the artifact, the resistance elsewhere was ramping up their efforts. New weapon systems were developed using repurposed alien tech, and guerrilla tactics became more coordinated. A network of resistance groups now spanned the globe, working together seamlessly. The aliens had underestimated the human ability to adapt and innovate. They had assumed their advanced technology would be enough to crush the planet into submission, but what they didn't account for was the relentless will of Earth's inhabitants. In one city after another, human forces began to fight back with strategies the invaders hadn't anticipated. While the aliens relied on their overwhelming firepower and technology, the humans used the environment to their advantage. Cities built into mountains were now strongholds of resistance. The dense jungles of South America became a perfect ground for ambushes and sabotage operations. Humans weren't fighting with the same weapons the aliens had, but they were fighting smarter. They had learned to use the land, their homes, their very surroundings against the invaders. It wasn't just about weapons anymore, it was about the human will to survive and to fight for their future. With each passing day, the resistance grew bolder. They took risks. They attacked the invaders' supply lines and military outposts. They hacked into alien communication systems and sent false messages to confuse the enemy. Everything the aliens thought they knew about the people of Earth was wrong. Humanity wasn't afraid, it wasn't broken, it was only getting stronger. As the weeks passed and the resistance continued to grow, Alex and his team made a groundbreaking discovery. Deep beneath the ice of Antarctica, they found the artifact. It was an ancient piece of technology, something far older than anything humanity had ever encountered. It was buried in a cavern deep below the frozen wasteland, its surface covered in intricate patterns and designs that seemed to pulse with a faint glow. The moment they touched it, a surge of energy flooded the room, sending waves of shock through their bodies. Alex could feel the power emanating from the artifact. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, and it was their key to defeating the invaders. The team worked tirelessly to study and understand the artifact's capabilities. Every new piece of knowledge they uncovered revealed more about its potential. The artifact seemed to be an advanced form of energy weapon, capable of harnessing the planet's natural resources and turning them into a weapon of unimaginable power. But it was more than just a weapon. It was a tool that could disrupt the alien technology itself. It was the one thing that could bring the invaders to their knees. The question now was how to use it before it was too late. Meanwhile, the alien forces continued their relentless assault on Earth's remaining strongholds. They underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and fight back. But they weren't done yet. The alien leadership had started to panic. As they saw the resistance growing stronger, their attempts to crush humanity were failing, and with each passing day their hold on Earth was slipping. The invaders began to turn to more desperate measures. They launched new and terrifying weapons that were capable of obliterating entire cities with a single blast. They hoped these weapons would break the spirit of the resistance, but it only made humans more determined to fight back. Alex and his team knew they had to act fast. They couldn't afford to waste any more time. The artifact had to be activated before the aliens could unleash their full power. They developed a plan to channel the artifact's energy into a weapon powerful enough to disable the alien fleet's central command ship. It was a risky plan, one that could cost them everything. But they knew it was their only chance to win this war. They couldn't rely on conventional methods anymore. They had to use the artifact's power to shift the balance in their favor. As the resistance prepared for the final assault, Alex stood before his team and the gathered leaders of the global alliance. He could see the fear in their eyes, but also the determination. This was it. They had no more options, no more time. They were all in, and he could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. But he also felt a sense of hope, something he hadn't felt since the invasion began. Humanity was not just fighting to survive anymore. They were fighting to win, to take back their planet, and to prove to the invaders that Earth could not be conquered. The time had come to strike. The plan was in motion, and the artifact's power was ready to be unleashed. It was humanity's last stand. And no matter what happened next, Alex knew they had already won something far greater than the battle itself. They had united the world and shown that even the most advanced empire in the galaxy couldn't stand against the strength of the human spirit. As the resistance prepared for the final assault, the weight of the moment settled over everyone. There was no turning back now. The aliens had already launched their latest weapon, a massive energy cannon designed to wipe out entire continents in a single blast. It was a terrifying force capable of ending the war in an instant, and humanity's only hope was the artifact deep within their possession. But using it meant confronting the heart of the alien fleet and taking a direct strike at their command ship, which was located at the center of the enemy's flagship. Alex stood at the command center overseeing the final preparations. His team had worked tirelessly to adapt the artifact into a functioning weapon, but there was no guarantee that it would work or that they would survive the assault. Everyone was aware of the risks, But no one flinched. The tension was palpable. The resistance fighters knew what they were up against, but they also knew they were fighting for something much greater than their own lives. They were fighting for the future of the planet, for their families, for their children. They had come together in ways that no one thought possible before the invasion. Now they were ready to give everything to take back what was theirs. The attack was set to begin at dawn. The plan was simple but dangerous. They would use a series of decoy strikes to draw the alien fleet's attention away from their true target, while a small team led by Alex would infiltrate the flagship and deploy the artifact's weapon at the core of their command ship. It was a race against time, and every minute counted, because once the alien fleet realized what was happening, they would retaliate with everything they had. The first wave of decoys hit their mark, drawing the aliens into a series of counterattacks that kept them off balance. The resistance had learned to exploit the weaknesses in the alien defenses, and now they were using that knowledge to their advantage. Alex's team moved swiftly through the alien defense lines, using advanced tech from the artifact to stay one step ahead of the enemy. Their path was dangerous, but the closer they got to the flagship, the more determined they became. They knew the fate of the world rested on their success. As they neared the central core of the alien command ship, Alex felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He could hear the hum of the alien machines around him, the strange alien language echoing through the corridors. But he remained focused. He had seen what the invaders were capable of. He had witnessed the destruction they had caused, but he had also seen the strength of the human spirit. He had watched as ordinary people rose up in the face of impossible odds and fought back with everything they had. Humanity had something the aliens didn't have: a drive to protect what was theirs, no matter the cost. Finally, they reached the core, the heart of the alien ship, where the artifact's weapon was to be deployed. Alex gave the signal, and the team worked quickly to set everything in motion. They could feel the seconds ticking by as the alien forces began to realize that they were under attack. Their response was swift and brutal, but it was too late. Alex and his team had already activated the weapon. A surge of energy erupted from the artifact and blasted through the alien ship systems with devastating force. The ship shuddered violently as its central command structure collapsed. The weapon had worked beyond their expectations. But as the flagship began to break apart, the team knew their mission was far from over. The invaders were still out there, and they would need to fight with everything. They had to ensure that this victory wasn't short-lived. As the alien flagship began to crumble beneath the power of the artifact's energy blast, Alex and his team made their way back toward the escape route. The destruction they had caused was unlike anything they had ever imagined. The alien fleet was in disarray, their communications disrupted, and their command structure in ruins. But the fight was far from over. The resistance had taken down one ship, but the invaders were still vast, their numbers still great, and their fury would be quick to follow. The time to celebrate was not now. It was time to finish what they had started. The escape wasn't without its challenges. As they made their way through the shattered corridors of the alien ship, Alex could hear the frantic calls of the invaders regrouping their forces. The resistance had thrown them into chaos, but they were not without strength or intelligence. They would retaliate quickly, and with devastating force. The team pushed forward, their footsteps echoing in the tense silence. They had to get out before the alien forces reorganized and trapped them in the wreckage of their own success. Back on Earth, the resistance forces outside were watching in anticipation. The moment the artifact's weapon had activated, they had seen the first signs of success. The alien flagship was weakening, but the battle was far from won. Humanity's forces had already begun preparing for the final stages of the assault, but they needed more than just the success of one strike. They needed the invaders to know that this wasn't an isolated victory. It was the beginning of their defeat. Alex and his team made it to the ship's exterior, just as the flagship started to break apart, sections of the hull buckling under the strain of the destruction they had caused. The escape pods were waiting for them, just beyond the ship's crippled perimeter. But as they neared the pods, the warning alarms sounded. The alien forces had regrouped and were launching a counterattack at full strength. The team was trapped. The pod they had intended to escape in was now under direct fire, and they had no choice but to improvise. Alex quickly assessed their options. and made a snap decision. They would have to board one of the alien craft that was still functional and use it to escape the wreckage of the flagship. It was a dangerous move, but it was their only chance. They ran toward one of the remaining intact ships, their weapons drawn in preparation for the fight ahead. The alien craft's security systems kicked in almost immediately as they boarded, but Alex and his team were ready. They fought their way through the corridors with an efficiency that surprised even them. Their goal was simple: get to the controls and take the ship back to Earth. Meanwhile, the battle raged on outside as the remaining resistance fighters coordinated with the global forces to finish the job. The aliens had suffered a devastating blow, but their counterattack was fierce and deadly. Earth's defenders had already proved they could adapt and fight back, but the aliens were not willing to back down without a fight. Alex's team fought through wave after wave of alien soldiers, each confrontation bringing them closer to the controls of the craft. But with every passing moment, the alien retaliation grew stronger. They had to hurry, or they would lose their opportunity. But the determination that had fueled humanity's resistance since the beginning was now more than just a hope. It was a fire that burned in their hearts, a fire that would see them through to the end, no matter the cost. Alex and his team reached the control room of the alien craft just as the ship lurched violently under the impact of another round of alien fire. They had fought through the corridors with everything they had left. Each step forward felt like a victory, but they knew it wasn't over. Not yet. There were still alien soldiers aboard, and the battle for control of this ship was only beginning. Alex quickly assessed the control panel in front of him. It was unlike anything he had seen before, but in the back of his mind, he knew that humanity had faced impossible odds before and come out on top. He could figure this out. The team spread out, taking positions around the room as Alex worked his fingers across the alien controls. The language was foreign, but they had adapted alien technology quickly in the past, and this was no different. He needed to get the ship back to Earth as soon as possible, and he had only minutes before the invaders realized what was happening. He activated a series of override codes he had worked out earlier, hoping against hope that they would work. The craft's systems hummed to life as the ship's engines began to warm up. But just as they did, a loud explosion rocked the ship. Another counterattack had hit, and the room shook with the force of it. The alien soldiers began flooding into the room, taking up positions and firing with deadly precision. Alex's heart raced as he ducked behind a console and fired back with the alien weapon he had managed to retrieve during the fight through the corridors. His team followed suit, providing covering fire as Alex continued to work to gain control of the craft. They couldn't afford to waste time. They had to get the ship airborne before the invaders overwhelmed them. The aliens outside were relentless, but they were beginning to realize that their control over the ship was slipping. They launched wave after wave of soldiers trying to force their way into the control room, but the resistance fighters held them back with fierce determination. The sound of blaster fire filled the air as the room turned into a battleground, but they were making progress. The ship was slowly responding to Alex's commands. The engines were beginning to power up. The systems were coming online. The escape was within their grasp. Finally, with a sharp burst of energy, the alien craft's engines roared to life, and Alex knew they had succeeded. The ship began to lift off the ground. The team scrambled to hold on as the vessel rose through the atmosphere and broke free of the alien flagship's collapsing structure. The ship lurched and groaned as it fought against the damage the invaders had inflicted on it, but they were free. They were escaping. But there was no time to celebrate yet. The alien forces would not give up so easily. As the ship tore through space back toward Earth, the resistance fighters could hear the desperate calls from the alien fleet as they attempted to regroup and retaliate. They weren't just going to let one of their ships escape, no matter how damaged it was. Alex's team had done the impossible, but now they had to finish it. They had to make sure the alien forces would never be a threat again. The team strapped into their seats as the alien ship's weapon systems came online with their guidance. The alien ship began to turn and faced the heart of the alien fleet. The remaining resistance fighters were preparing for the final blow. The humans were ready to finish this once and for all, to send the invaders a message they would never forget. No one was coming to save them anymore. Humanity had taken its stand, and this time they were not just surviving, they were winning. The alien fleet loomed large before them as Alex and his team maneuvered the captured alien craft into position. The distance between them and their enemies was closing fast, but they knew what had to be done. They couldn't hesitate now. Their moment had arrived. The final confrontation was imminent, and they were not about to let this opportunity slip away. Humanity had come too far and fought too hard to back down. Now the energy that had been building within the resistance was palpable. Everyone on the team felt it. They knew this was the moment they had all been waiting for. The alien fleet was regrouping after the initial chaos. Their ships were now aligned in formation, prepared to repel the humans' assault. But Alex wasn't about to play by their rules. He knew humanity had something the aliens didn't have: a burning will to survive and to protect their home, their families, their future. The alien forces had underestimated that. They had underestimated everything about humans since the beginning, but now they would learn the true strength of the species. Alex gave the command to initiate the weapon. The ship's systems powered up, and the alien weapons began to charge. A low hum filled the cockpit as the energy built to a crescendo. His team braced themselves for the impact that was sure to follow. They had only one shot at this. They couldn't afford to miss. The resistance fighters outside were taking position as well. The final assault on the alien fleet was underway. All across the globe, the people of Earth had joined together for one final push. The decoy operations had worked. Their attacks had diverted the aliens' attention long enough to allow Alex's team to reach the heart of their fleet. Now the world's military forces were prepared to strike in unison. All they needed was the signal. With a single word from Alex, the weapon was unleashed. A massive surge of energy erupted from the alien craft and shot toward the heart of the alien fleet. The blast tore through their defenses with devastating force. It was like nothing the invaders had ever encountered. The energy cut through their ships with surgical precision, disintegrating their weapon systems and disabling their fleet's central command ship. The alien fleet was thrown into chaos, their technology faltering as the blast cascaded through their ranks. But the fight wasn't over yet. Even with their central command ship disabled, the remaining invaders weren't giving up. They retaliated with everything they had, launching every remaining weapon at humanity's forces. But the humans had already anticipated this. They had worked for this moment for so long. They were ready to fight to the very last breath. They had already proven they could adapt and overcome the invaders' superior technology, and now they were showing their true power. As the alien fleet began to falter, the remaining resistance forces pushed forward in a final surge of strength. Humanity's forces launched their own offensive, using everything they had at their disposal. All the power of the global alliance came to bear against the invaders' weakened defenses. The battle raged on, but now it was clear who was in control. As the last of the alien fleet was destroyed and their forces scattered into retreat, Alex and his team stood in stunned silence. The fight was over. Humanity had won. The impossible had been achieved. The alien invaders had been eradicated from Earth, and the planet was free once again. The cost had been high, but the sacrifices had not been in vain. Humanity had faced down an overwhelming force and emerged victorious. The strength of the human spirit had proven unstoppable. Alex looked out at the stars, and for the first time since the invasion began, he felt a sense of peace. Humanity had fought back, and the future was theirs to rebuild.